Always hung out with the girls. Always hung out with the girls. Always hung out with the girls they accepted me.
Hi, and welcome to The Fluid Voice. I am your oftentimes one of the main host people on the show, Ozma In The Dark, here on the Jewish Space Laser. Still utilizing she, they pronouns for the purposes of wildfires now. Still very pale. And with blue eyes, a gray shirt, and a colorful skirt. I am here with Perfict. How are you doing, Perfict?
I'm doing fine. I'm still supposed to be sporting my piratical theme, but I'm not. Maybe I'll see if that fixes.
What? I added your picture, so your perfect pirate theme is on the screen, even if you can't see it.
Oh, yay.
Here. Yeah, no, I make
cool.
an effort. I care about
Excellent.
These things.
And we all appreciate all that you do. And using he, him pronouns.
Okay, and Christy's not here, right? Oh, wait, unless you just got here, Christy.
I just got back.
Excellent, perfect timing. Christy, how are you doing? Right at the start of the show.
Wow.
I'm fine. I just had to take care of a nasty laser burn.
Oh, well, I can assure you it wasn't from the Jewish Space Laser, which I may or may not be on currently.
It came in through the window.
Oh, no. I didn't accidentally click the wrong button on the space laser. It's supposed to only set wildfires, not burn people.
I would guess. Well, I'm utilizing she, her for the purposes of pissing off the Helens. The Helens and the
Karens?
And the Karens, thank you. And what someone asked last night, what did they used to be called before we called them Helens? And I answered, and people don't seem to remember. It was called Antagonists.
Oh, that makes sense. I think that makes sense.
That's why you had Agnes and Bewitched being nosy neighbor.
Oh. Interesting.
See?
Would have imagined Mrs. Grundy would have come up, too.
Well, Mrs. Grundy is a special thing. It's a very specific kind of antagonist.
Mm.
And if now I'm going to have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that Mrs. Grundy in Archie is, her first name is Agnes.
Oh, like Agnes Grundy? There we go. I can words. So, tonight the topic is love and politics, because my mind has been on this far too much. Because it's an interesting thing, because I get the impression that a lot of there's a lot more value of, I get the impression that it's love over power on the left and power over love on the right. Now, I could be wrong. I could just be my mentality and overthinking this. What do you guys think? Just in general about love's influence on politics.
Her name is Geraldine Grundy. And yes, she is named after Mrs. Grundy. Okay. 1798 from Thomas Morton, of all things. Hi. Yes. So, one of the things...
We made Christy think of words.
I have... Look, one of the things that has...
I know.
Can you hear me? You cannot hear me.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Perfect's just interrupting, apparently.
Yeah.
I am very much in the need to rant about this particular thing, so you set it up very nicely.
Yes. Go luck.
One of the things that has been pissing me off quite extremely lately, to the point of this is almost the entire thing I argue on Twitter now with the transphobes, is the insistence on labeling other people and taking away their labels if the labels don't agree with their perception of it. That is, if dating a trans woman cannot be a lesbian, if dating a trans man cannot be a gay man. No, you don't get to do that. I am so sorry. You do not get to label, you do not get to take other people's identities away from them just because you don't agree with it. That is what they tried to do in the long ago. And the long ago is looked back upon as a bad time for a reason.
Wouldn't it be fun to just bring the whole culture back to the 1200s and have everyone die massively from the lack of understanding of basic medicine? Oh, wait, no, that would be bad.
I'm just talking about the 80s, for God's sake.
I mean, fair. Wasn't the 80s when they said that they had the whole thing about the dangers of all the bi people, or was that the 90s?
Oh, yes. Us in the bi community, which apparently we ever so helpful LGB Alliance, which likes to throw under the bus. I have more rant about that in a bit, but we were the ones who caused the AIDS crisis, apparently. That's what we did. Not some,
yes, right.
not some pilot with American Airlines.
Yeah. And the same Servatu is coming back for monkeypox.
Yeah, well, I don't want to think about it. Well, I mean, it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
It's a strange... There's more of a duality now that gay and trans are accepted in around the 70% in US, UK, and Canada, with some wiggles here and there. Although wiggles are Australian, yes, I know. Didn't have to say it. Yeah, it's so it's a screaming match. It's one of the and yes, the power to tell people they are not who they are is one of the biggest powers people take upon themselves. And it isn't fair to the people who are just trying to get along or just trying to be happy. Or in my case, is very happy. I am very happy without having to deal with even one of the reasons why I go in and wade into the fight is because A, I have nothing to lose, and B, I'm happy either way. Not happy either way, I'm generally happy, so they're not going to ruin that for me.
Perfect. Just to get your general thoughts on the concept of power versus like valuing power over love and love over power.
Yeah, I think that the thing that I would comment is on the left, if you try and talk about the effects of love, some will probably be right on board and be going, yes, that's it. That's what we're talking about is, an expression of our love and concern for all people, all of the people of the nation. And this is why our politics are what they are. And some people are going to be a little, I don't know if that's what it is. We're trying to work out the rules we're going to live by. But I do think that in a conservative milieu, there's going to be very few that are thinking that that love is entirely separate from politics is going to be their thing. There are very few that are going to be saying, yeah, that's all about love. They'll tell you that it's all about love when they're practicing their religion or whatever, but the politics, no, that's not. And that may be an indication that the politics really doesn't do that. It isn't about that. And that you're right, it is about power.
Well, I just think you can have different... you mean in terms of perception? Yeah, and I think, to be fair, yeah, I kind of agree with you that some individuals on the left have completely ignored fundamentals. So, like, if you're talking about socialism versus nationalism, where socialism is or should be about the people and nationalism is about the power of the nation, and then that's not really about the people anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there are people who like the idea of some of the aspects of the left, but don't go all the way with helping people. Oh, let alone the BS of hate the sin, love the sinner. That's used for more questionable stuff. Sorry, I'm secretly just sneaking around adding moderators. Don't mind me. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. Never heard of this title applied to politics before, but I mean, I think to some degree you have to have everything we do has an emotional core to it. Like, if your goal is based off of loving humanity and trying to make human beings have a more comfortable life or whatever, it's different from being the goal of, I want our nation to be the strongest nation and I don't care about what happens to people in other countries. Like, they're inconsequential to the general goal. Oh, my video stopped.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it can be pretty subtle what the difference is, whether you're going, I want to have the strongest, I want to have enough power that we're safe. And you can want that out of pure practical, or you can want it out of the loving concern for the people around you and wanting them to be safe. So how do you make that determination which it is? What the motivations were? Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually motivations relate to what one's goals are, and because that's the only information we can use to determine that, or to estimate that. You know, what you do, how you want to do it, and sometimes things are limited by what people think can get done.
How you want to go about it may be one of the better clues. I think you're right on that. Because I was saying, what if you can have the same goal and different reasons for wanting it, and that how do we, and that, but yeah, how do you go about getting it may be very different.
Well, I think there's a general broader there's a general broader attitude of like you can have the general platonic love for humanity, or you can focus on the love of focus on the love of a nation. Maybe I was just trying to break it down too simply.
You're completely losing me anyway, because you're talking in stuff that I just don't understand, and I just can't seem to, no matter how much I try. I don't understand the idea of borders to begin with, so it's not something I can grasp.
Yeah, and there appears to be a little bit of bleed over of audio.
Yeah, I'm still looking for my cord. I've been doing that while we're on. Sorry. I have to put that should be a little better.
Okay. Anyways,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. It's perhaps my whole framing was wrong and overthinking things, which that happens sometimes. Or I think I have a good idea and it's not as good as it could be.
There's no such thing as overthinking. There's people who don't think about things enough.
I mean, fair. I'm doing a video soon about Outlast accidentally making me a better person, but that's a separate story. That's a story about sympathy and empathy.
Sorry, you said a word that automatically gets that reaction from me.
Perfect will be back. That's probably next a weird Discord thing.
Anytime someone says the word sympathy, I immediately go, it's a thing.
Okay. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so context spread up. Most people prioritize their politics based on who or what they love.
I don't think people love things as much as they just want to hold on to things.
Cherry guys, I can't understand half the talk because bleed over.
I'm so sorry. I will probably have to.
Yeah.
I will probably have to get away. I do not.
Is there a push to talk?
And I'm so sorry. My cord for my good mic is missing. I have the mic works really well for this setup because my microphone, the internal mic and the speaker are very close together. So having the microphone, I can just pull the laptop top down and I'll hear it, but the microphone won't.
Oh, wait, no, I could... I could fix it over. I could temporarily fix it for when I'm talking and essentially do a push to talk type thing, and then there at the very least won't be bleed over when I'm talking. Or oh wait, maybe there's still, or no, maybe I will hear it and other people won't. Yeah, that's probably the case. I can hear the bleed over, some of the bleed over, but I don't think other people can currently. How do people are people here hearing bleed over when I talk? Currently? Okay, so yeah, yeah, okay, I figured it out. I can words. I can do this. Okay, so yeah, what was I saying? Something
Plug for my Pong game. Why do I still have this?
I don't know. Sorry, I didn't unmute you fast enough there, so that they missed like a couple seconds of the start of that.
I said I was looking for the cord over in my pile of cords, and apparently, and I came up with the plug to my Pong game. I have that.
Oh yeah, so there's going to be hiccups now and then just due to the fact that I'm doing this manually. So if you say talk before you're about to say talking before saying something, that'll give me enough time to unmute you.
But that doesn't answer my question. Why Pong game cord?
Oh, I've got no idea why you have a Pong game record.
I'm getting very frustrated here. Again, and I unplugged a bunch from the external USB thing, and I unplugged the wrong one, obviously.
Oh, that's a shame.
Becoming very upsetting. Is finally. All right, give me a minute.
Okay. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, no, it's possible I overthought aspects of this with relation to generalizing it so far all the way to love. That might have been a bit far. Let's see. Okay, hey, Perfect.
You are no longer alone.
Well, I mean, Christy was here, so I wasn't alone before. That being said, I am manualing. What?
Don't need to. There's my.
Okay.
There's my mic. There's my good mic. And you're not getting bleed back now, yeah?
What's the bleed back situation looking like?
Well, it
Whatever.
sounded fine to me.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded fine to me too. That being said, it is always possible that this is a problem I accidentally caused. Oh, okay, Convex Roach says much better.
Yeah, that's why when I have the blue snowball, I have the laptop most of the way down, enough up that I can hear it, but it's underneath the microphone, the snowball, and blocked off from it. And I have the back closed, or I have the back microphone turned off, and the front mic, I have it front mic only. And there you go.
Yeah.
So that way you don't hear my fan, you don't hear the speaker.
Okay. That's good.
That was the problem before.
That's less work for me. But yeah, it is possible. I try to break things down a bit I try to oversimplify things in an attempt to figure stuff out. And then I realized when talking that there may have been a handful of potential flaws in my thought process.
On the, what we're going to end up talking about, or what?
Yeah, on just broadening things to love might have been too broad.
So,
Well, I love broads. What? Sorry, I couldn't help that. That's only a joke only someone my age or better would have said.
what if you're more granular focus?
I'm not sure. Next Orange says politics usually start from an attempt to improve the world. Yes and no. I think there's a philosophical attitude of what's the perfect? You're good with philosophy. What's the thing where it's the thing with the stuff? No, the philosophical thing where it's like it's assumed that there's a limit when there isn't actually a limit. It's sort of like acting like there are limited resources when it comes to like for survival or all that stuff.
I do not recall.
Darn it. I don't recall either.
You're
Christy,
right. It definitely is one. There's a term for that.
There was a discussion a couple weeks ago about people being more for in-group or thinking resources for in-group are affected by out-groups getting resources.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially
Something preservation or something. It's
I mean artificial scarcity is like an aspect of it, but there's like a philosophical I feel like there's a philosophical term for it, specifically that sort of thing. Anyway, yeah, our zero-sum game. The zero-sum game. Is that it?
Oh, Jesus. Sorry.
well, if one loses another gains, and that you only gain by depriving another of some bounty.
Yeah, that's sort of the attitude that tends to go around when it comes to a lot of things that aren't zero-sum games. They're just like people can survive without depriving others of survival needs.
Yeah, win-win situations are always.
Yeah, but everything's and I think that relates to that attitude is part of the thing with politics, where if people believe the only way the people they care about can survive is if they win, when everybody can win in that particular circumstances. We're not really bound. Yeah, the zero-sum bias, when people think that everything is a competition. I mean, that's far too much of society. In my opinion, there isn't much. We have more food than is required to feed people, but there are people who are starving for no good reason. Like Yeah. And
Frequently, it's very complex and frequently not very good reasons that people end up not getting food that otherwise could be distributed to them. Yeah.
yeah, and ultimately, so I think people don't see other politics as, or people view politics based off of what will affect people they care about, and sometimes people don't care, aren't too worried, are in a desperation mode. Maybe that's like the general problem that I'm not even factoring in. I wanted to make this about love. Let's make this about love more. 60s was all about love and politics.
I don't know. I wasn't born from love. I was born to keep my father out of Vietnam. So that's a thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, that seemed like an easier goal than what my dad did, which is assault someone to end up in a mental hospital to get out of the Vietnam, prevent him from going to the Vietnam War. So.
Yeah, well, you didn't have to raise me.
Both strategies, however, worked.
Yes, they both work. Although my dad is intelligent, so he sometimes pretended he was a Vietnam vet. And made up stuff. Just to see how far he could get before with someone believing him. Yeah, obsessively talked about something about purple penguins, and
there's always the koala at death. Why is it smiling? What does it know?
But yeah, it's no, there is
I think someone got that.
I mean, I didn't understand it, but it sounded funny.
It's from Star Trek.
Oh. Okay, I didn't get it, but it sounded funny.
It is funny.
Because like just anything, it's just like staring into a dog's eyes, and it's like, what does it know? What did it see? Wasn't like you can do that with almost any animal.
I mean, yeah, it's what. No, I have to actually work this out before I can say it. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. But yeah, I think.
You see, there's politics of love. You can have the politics of love, just like there's the politics of family and the so on. Politics is part of what we do. That's how we relate to each other. That's politics.
I mean, that is true, actually.
The politics of dancing.
I'm sorry, my brain is terrible. My brain is like, what are the politics of dancing that white people dance badly?
No, it's
different kind of politics.
It's one of those 80s hits that didn't survive.
Oh, okay. I think a lot of people, because when I think of love, I think of it because there's a lot of different types of love out there. I think people, because of some aspects of society and because how much love has been tied with romantic and sexual love specifically, I think a lot of times it's very much societally, you pick one person and that's the only person you're outside of family who you're allowed to love or whatever.
Well, that would ruin my life, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, it would ruin my life too. But like, even if you're talking about broader sort of platonic love, like you can, like, people are ride or die. Like some people are ride or die. Like,
I just lost my ride or die, so
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's all right. She's still alive. I mean, it's a thing.
Okay.
It happens. Not the
Yeah,
easiest
I
to
don't
get
know.
around.
I mean, there's only a handful of people, like, going through events that are sometimes there are various types of events that can make people emotionally closer to each other, but like I think trying to move away from the super focused type of love to a broader, just like default love of humanity, because most people are just different people dealing with their own stuff. I mean, some people are jerks, and I'm not saying you should love jerks, but like,
I'm actually of the opinion, and I live my life this way, that people are not jerks. They act like jerks. I don't do essentialist language in my head for them. So that is one of the ways I can cope with people being jerks.
I have different ways of coping with people being jerks. I chose the way of violence when it comes to people emotionally abused me. It's my personality. No, it's very like I just think at the very least, like, people are human, and like, we are doing this country is doing awful things to immigrants or whatever, or at least last I checked, they've been doing awful things. I mean, there are some aspects that were quietly gotten rid of, and some aspects which might remain. Need to go into I would need to look into a little bit more detail on specifics of the current situation. I know obviously there are people performing hysterectomies on anyone who didn't understand the waiver they were signing.
That the one fellow in particular was arrested, so
Okay, good. I mean, I didn't hear about that, but I don't know. Given the long history of every facility, every facility that they tested previous to that was not living up to things, and
well, again, we're in a place where I don't understand. I just don't. So it's not. I can't take it in because it doesn't make any sense to me. And I apologize for that, but it's just the way I am. Sorry. But one of the ways that not essentializing helps is in allowing to focus on the problem and not the person. I mean, some persons are the problem. Granted, Trump is a dingus. Though I feel sorry for him more than anything, but that's a problem I have. Focusing on the problems allows people to change. Focusing on essentializing does not.
I mean, I agree with you for the most part. I don't think you should focus on essentializing. Definitely, people can change, and I just tend to have an attitude that some people are less likely to change.
Well, probably.
Or have certain types of people have less motivation. But what I mean by that is specific people, based on their actions, based off their attitudes, based off of whether or not they listen to people, or tend to listen to people or try to understand things. And if they change, good. But I do want, if you start to get into like super hardcore essentialism, that creates lots of problems, because then you're like, oh, people can't change, so therefore the world can't get any better.
Well, let us actually put this in a concrete term, because of a story I've told many a time. But I've never done what happened with it, because that was never saying my stepfather was a Nazi is a thing I have said many a time.
Yes.
One of the things, however, I mean, I left because he punched me and I almost stabbed him to death. So I had a knife in my hand when he punched me. That was not a good idea. I was actually using it to cut something. I wasn't having it there for any other reasons, but I went to take a swing. So that is more or less the end of what my interaction with him was. But according to my sister, I went to live with him soon after I left. He tried, he tried for a while. And I only saw him 2 times after I left, and he lived another 20 years. So, and I got one message from him, which I'll discuss in private, but never in public.
Yes.
He knew I was trans, and he worked really hard at accepting that. He didn't like I was dating a black guy, but that's a thing.
Some people can only take on so much of their fundamental attitudes having to involve exceptions.
But he did show up the second time I saw him after. No, sorry, 3 times I saw him. Once was very soon after, so I counted in the after I left or before I left. Because I needed to come get my stuff, But the second time was at my sister's wedding. And it was interesting. Because his basic stance was apologetic. And proud that we grew up without his baggage.
Yeah, and that's kind of, so like that's the thing. It's not, how should I put this? Yeah, I the thing is, people who are Nazis were people, and I think there's a lot of othering to try to pretend that it's impossible for a person to become a Nazi from philosophical ideals.
True.
And people just go, oh, that person is crazy, that person is a monster, but don't factor in what made it seem less monstrous bit by bit.
I called to speak to my father when my stepfather died, because my father by this time and I had actually, grown fairly close. And my stepmother was the one who answered because he wasn't home. And I passed on the message that he had died. And my first thought was, I found out he died of Alzheimer's with his fifth life. What I said then is what I mean now is, I hope the memories that went first are the ones that hurt him so badly.
That's a pretty good sentiment.
Yeah.
I mean, when you let it sink in, it's...
Yeah. Well, I was crying when I said it, but I didn't expect to be crying over him.
Yeah, it's... Family stuff is complicated, and people like to section people out, but ultimately most people are trying to make, I think Em brought up that most people are trying to make at least the people they care about's lives better. And people who are doing things for that reasoning, I feel like, can be reasoned with more easily. Because I got some of the worst. Yeah, I had the silliest. To be fair, I was trolling someone on Twitter that did not seem to be their attitude, talking about how according to this person, most men wanting fertile, like hot fertile women type thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's not about, that has something to do with love, or in my mind, that has nothing to do with love. That has to do with power, in my mind. That attitude. Not to say that someone can't change their opinion ever or whatnot, because people. But yeah, I tend to agree with the Indigenous Heretic that people can change, but until they do, an asset is an effing asset. I don't know why I censored myself with F, but not. But you know what I mean? Like, that tends to be my attitude, and it tends to be like, people can change, but currently X person is being a jerk. Maybe that was kind of your point, Christy. Maybe I'm just like,
yep,
very slowly and terribly slowly processing everything. And also,
people can change. People can change, but diapers have to be changed.
Yes.
I just thought of that. What do you think? Should I use that as a motto now?
I mean, you can, because you're a parent. I feel like it would get weird when I do it. As I am not a parent, and that could give off other vibes. But yeah, no, I understand what you mean by that, and that is kind of like, it's kind of dorky, but I kind of like dorky stuff sometimes. And that's definitely one of them. And I don't know. Ultimately, I think one of the things that prevents people, I mean, othering is something that happens. I think it makes it hard for people to love people who are different to a certain degree. I think certain types of othering that have been throughout society, throughout other stuff, mostly just society. I don't know why I said other stuff. That thing outside of society, the biological, I'm not saying that in any sort of biological essentialist sort of way, so I don't know where I was going. But, I don't know, I apparently just want to go back to my default rant about the concept of an ideal version of what it means to be human and how that messes with everything. Now, I do think humanizing people helps. I think finding something to relate to with a person who's different from you helps for just garnering sympathy and empathy and love and all that stuff.
You mean finding points of commonality?
Yeah. That's what happened with me in Outlast. I found commonality with one of the people in the asylum in the video game, and all of a sudden I was like, no, these are all just people. Yes, they're disfigured. Yes, they're quote unquote crazy or whatever, but like they're people. They're just different people, and because like the person just wanted to burn the building down because of all the abuse and trauma that people in it had been doing, and I'm like, yeah, that's like the most relatable thing ever.
I've had those days.
Well, I mean, burn it all down is an attitude that you have when things are crap.
Yeah.
Indigenous Heretic brings up studies show that the more exposure to diversity a child has, the less they otherize different quote unquote different people as adults. The opposite is also true for homogeneity.
Homogeneity.
Okay.
Yeah, homogeneity. And that if you, that's part of why, okay, a college can do admittance and they can say, we're trying to get X percentage of this group into the college. And therefore they can change their admissions policies to be more permissive to get that group in. Because part of the experience that they're offering to students is the ability to be in contact with many different types of people.
Yeah,
so
but I feel like
you don't have enough black students at your school, or foreign students, or and so on. You need a higher percentage in order for them to for your students to be rubbing against the other students, to be rubbing against these people of a disparate background. Which once they get that into they will then see those people complexly. They see those people as being real people, and they'll start to do the mirror neuron thing that they actually think of them as being real.
Yeah.
yeah.
I did go to college so I could rub against other people. That is true.
I should have seen that one coming. God, damn it! No, curse you puns. I didn't mean to do that pun, but
Well,
I
there you
noticed
go.
it right after I said it. No, how dare me do that to me? No, yeah, and I think, I mean, I think a lot of the reason for the attitude I have is probably because like several factors. Like my grandmother had polio when she was alive, so she had to use a walker and then a wheelchair to get around. And my grandpa stayed with her or whatever. That's a separate story. My grandpa's the best, or was the best. But like he died a couple years ago. But like I had talked with a hard of hearing person in like elementary school, and I already like talked to various disabled people when they showed up because of the segregation that still occurs in school. So they weren't always around there, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure that helped. To be fair, I also talked with a schizophrenic person shortly after high school, or during high school or shortly after. I know I'd met him before he had developed schizophrenia and after. So, like, all these things I think combine. Like, even though I say, like, Outlast accidentally made me a better person, there's a ton of other factors that probably factored into how I could make that leap.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. We had a lot of commonly othered people in my family, so my uncle is schizophrenic.
Oh yeah, my dad was in a mental hospital. I already mentioned that. That was its own. That he did talk about eventually.
My great uncle was gay. And that's the second person I was second closest to. My great grandmother on my mother's side was. So.
Yeah, and yeah, and I yeah, and I don't know, I talked with various different people in school as well, but like I don't know, I can't get behind some attitudes towards people who are different being like regardless of how, like, acting like that's some sort of that's some sort of obvious deal breaker if they're too different. It's like, I don't know, my grandpa grew up on a farm and took care of my grandma who needed help sometimes getting in and out of her wheelchair in the bathroom or walker. Get help with the walker. Like, if my grandpa can do it, I can do it. And, like, everything else is usually less than that, so most relationships is probably less than what my grandpa did for my grandma, so
Yeah.
screw you, ableism. So it's just
Yeah, well,
Yeah, well,
Also, there's, not everybody gets the chance to show. I mean, that's an obvious demonstration of devotion that, you're seeing and you recognize, but what if there'd been no opportunity to show it, but it had been there?
yeah, and yeah, that's another thing. Although it does help. This is one of those things where this is part of how open communication helps. Like people being able to communicate their needs, what's going on, and not have it be so. I don't know. There's a once again, there's an attitude that people should be a specific way, and what that way is depends on the culture and subculture to some degree, but it's, I don't know. There's a lot of white nationalism in culture, which does not help things.
There is? Really?
I heard that sarcasm.
I never even noticed it. I mean, oh my.
Oh yeah, context around seeing your grandparents love each other in real life probably is a huge thing. He did what he did without seeking separate attention. Yeah, no, he just did it. Like, my grandmother felt shame, and he was like, when she moved from walker to wheelchair, and he's just like, nah, what are you talking about? Like, I can just push you around, like, real fast. I can help you get places. This isn't a limiting factor type thing. I don't know. See, now I'm just going into I miss my grandpa mode. Quick, say something.
I miss my grandma.
Darn it, I miss both my grandmas.
Yeah, now it's contagious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is sympathy and empathy and us viewing each other as humans. Or some sort of perfect pirate being.
Yes. Can't forget the feathered community.
Yeah, I also just wanted to do the alliteration. But yeah, I don't know, I think sometimes people forget where the core of a lot of people's motivations are, and where the core of their motivation is, where people focus too much on an ideal way to make the world better and forget why they're making the world better in the first place, or trying to. I don't know.
So you're saying that, perhaps a perfection of means with a confusion of ends?
Well,
Wait, my brain. I know. Perfection of means, confusion of ends. I'm like, my brain for some reason is not even processing that.
That's mankind has been described as a perfection of means with a confusion of ends.
Oh, yeah. Is that an Albert Einstein quote now that I'm looking it up?
I don't know, probably him or Samuel Clemens. They said everything smart that exists.
But, I mean, I think
Honestly, Ambrose Bierce wouldn't be.
But I think little bits do help, and every little bit that you can do helps, and everyone is better at doing different things than other people. I'm good with technology and utilizing space lasers. No, yeah, no, it's I don't know. There just needs to be more love. Love, love, love. Although that's by... Wait, was that by Lenin? I don't know. Lenin was...
Which
Lenin
Lenin?
was the abusive one. In the Beatles.
Oh, not Vladimir?
No. Vladimir's got his own issues. Most people who create ideas are imperfect, but that doesn't inherently mean the ideas that they created are false. And sometimes you can use stuff. I mean, they're like, what was the 1700s anti-slavery guy that gets quoted by Republicans sometimes?
What?
1700s anti-slavery guy. Like the guy who basically coined the term revolution or whatever. Or not coined the term revolution, sorry, bad phrasing. Helped spread the concept as being what people were doing before the American Revolution.
You mean the Civil War?
No, Revolutionary War.
Anti-slavery Revolutionary War.
Yeah, no, this is someone who I have a quote somewhere. Oh, wait, maybe I could find the... No, I can't find the quotes easily that way. The fact that none of us can think of it off the top of our heads is like a sad aspect of society. In my opinion. Because the person wasn't liked by the founding fathers, but tended to be like the closest, was an atheist who was anti-slavery and I'm I'll recognize his name when I see it. Oh my god. Why can I not think? No. Well, let me do it let me do things the hard way.
Welcome.
Sorry, that was a brief second of
Okay, so yeah, I'm just trying to think, and I'm not getting there in my thinking it through of who you mean, and you know, Thomas Jefferson was called the great atheist. So, but you don't mean him because he was basically a deist.
Yeah. Thomas Paine.
Thomas Paine. Okay.
Anti-slavery, major important person for the Revolutionary War. Atheist. Like their quote, he said about like anti-religion atheist. Level of atheist gets quoted by Republicans for no good reason because they like quotes, but they don't like anything that Thomas Paine stood for.
Right. Well,
Yes.
a lot of modern Republicans are anti-slavery.
Yeah. So Paine was a strong critic of slavery, declaring himself an abolitionist. This is and on March 8th, 1775. The magazine he had a whole article in the Pennsylvania magazine about criticizing slavery in 1775.
There were actually a lot of people who were anti-slavery for a long time.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, Thomas Paine is one of the most influential people in a lot of aspects of the American Revolution and American culture that just isn't taught about because it's too far left. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Thomas Paine is not taught?
wait,
Not a ton. I don't remember him.
We had to read a whole bunch of Thomas Paine. I mean, I'd already read it, but then again, that's me, which is not me, which sounds like me bragging. It's not. It's of course, I realize that sometimes I say shit like that and it's just autistic me, but it's...
I don't know. Or maybe Thomas Paine is taught about, but not. Or well, you said you read a lot about Thomas Paine, so. Yeah. What is it?
well, yeah, his abolitionist ideals and so on. I mean, that's fairly...
Yeah, and obviously, and he was the one who fought the strongest for democratic type stuff, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that there were founding fathers who were of that mindset that this would be the moment to get rid of slavery.
Maybe not for all of this stuff, but I don't know. Maybe he changed his opinions and made some of his aspects better. Who knows? I don't know. I forgot the person's name for several seconds. I did realize the problem with chat not showing up in the stream is currently for some reason I need to mess with chat so that some of the chat does YouTube. I don't know why chat is being weird and focusing on my Twitch chat. I know it focused on my Twitch chat because I did exclamation quote until I got the Thomas Paine quote. So that's definitely a thing that happened and is on the interwebs.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Speaking of interwebs, I know this may or may not have been the best episode of this show out there, but that being said, subscribe and comment on either ideas of topics we should do next or just annoyances of things we said. I don't know. I'll read them.
Yes,
and
if you concur.
It'll slowly crush my soul as I do. No, I'm kidding. That's just mean comments, which I don't think I've gotten in a long time. Yeah. No, I'm. I don't know. I don't know how much is privilege or. There are things where I have issues with things, but I'm not angry about them. Sometimes. So that was a very random thought. We are past the hour mark. We can talk about anything annoying you at the moment. I'm fine. I'll join in. Today's a casual episode. Casual Sunday. This Sunday. Not next Sunday. Next Sunday's not casual Sunday. This specific Sunday, casual Sunday.
This is casual Sunday. Okay.
Yeah. Ableism is bad. Not a fan of Nazis. That thought process was bad too. Not a fan of eugenics.
I've recently been a little bit annoyed with the prevalence of there are bigger issues. That particularly the LGBTQ community, and a lot of it focusing on trans community. People feeling that there's bigger issues to fry right now, and that those are not important, and that there's real civil rights problems and that kind of thing. And you go, it's pretty annoying.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously there's a hardcore anti-trans stuff going on now, but like the fact that everybody was like, it's just disabled people dying. It's just the elderly and the disabled dying. It's fine. Yeah. They're basically useless anyways. And it's just like, well, that's kind of a fundamental problem. Maybe it would help if people knew that you were fighting for them before expecting them to agree on the positions you make. I know this is a shock, but inclusivity is a good way to make change happen.
There's that.
There's like a lesbian bar that helped with the ADA, the movement to get the ADA passed. The Black Panther Party at the time brought food and stuff. Like, I don't know. It was a lot of work by a lot of people. And tons of disabled people, obviously, in a government office, taking over a government office and in protest or whatnot. But yeah, it's just and saying, hey, you should do at least this thing. But also, there's no enforcement of the ADA, so you have to sue people for the ADA to be for aspects of the ADA to occur, which is why most places are not accessible. It takes too much time and costs too much money to make things accessible for everyone. Let's just do temporary measures to make things accessible so long as a disabled person lives here, and then strip it all out because we don't like the way it looks. Accessibility looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a generic, that's a good point. The little stuff adds up to the big stuff. Genocide doesn't happen by accident, but it also happens a lot easier than people think.
There was a thing that I encountered where a guy was writing about his father had passed and so on, and he was, talking about it now. that he had been out of Germany for World War II and had returned, and his father was there. And they'd never talked about it. And he said that the reason was because then the question would come up, did you know? Because there was a concentration camp nearby. Did you know? And of course he knew. Everyone knew. There's no way you could not know.
Yeah.
So they knew. They had to know. So they never, ever discussed it. And the people don't realize that, normal people can get sucked into the situation where this is just happening and they're part of the world that's making it happen. And you think that your neighbors would never, I could never do that. They could never do that. Yeah, it could happen. And you could be there.
Yeah, a biggest example of that in terms of what's going on right now, my brain keeps going back to the assisted dying service in Canada and the fact that there are the fact that the rules are so lax. Mental illness is enough to justify getting assisted suicide in Canada currently, and veterans, ex-soldiers with PTSD in Canada have had assisted suicide suggested to them.
Yeah, I find
but genocide is what that is. If you push people so that assisted suicide sounds like a good option, or if you try to say that that's an option you should do, assisted suicide should be a last resort option, but that's not how it is always used. Oftentimes it's not people in desperate situations as much as people who lack accessibility and had their life made worse because of a lack of accessibility, or are suggested assisted suicide, like that case in Canada recently, because it's just it's a slippery slope, and it's a really concerning slippery slope that you would just suggest that someone should die because of a disability.
See, that's where I got problems. I think that everybody is entitled to die.
Well, yeah.
And entitled to pick their time. That suicide is not the terrible thing that it's stigmatized to be seen as. It's not always going to be that. But the idea that it's suggested as an option by the people who you are appealing to for help. Well, have you thought about dying? It does not seem to me to be anything that I would think my society should be part of. It's not, it's, suggesting it as an option.
I believe, I don't want to get into that actually, since that involves other people, but like, if we're talking,
you sure you don't want to in the last 4 minutes?
Yeah, but like, if we're talking about bodily autonomy is important. You should be able to choose what you do with your body. But I do think that it should be... The thing is, there's an attitude of some people being less worthy by society than others. And it's cheaper. Assisted suicide is cheaper than helping someone. Yeah, I'm not a fan of how it's been implemented in our society, because almost always the majority of people are just people with a lack of accessibility choosing to die so they don't have to deal with the lack of accessibility. and getting the help they need. Because if you can't get the help you need, it's a lot easier to go down that method. But that's a very that attitude of even suggesting suicide is an act of practicality versus love. Brought it back down, kind of, yeah. Yeah, it's so Perfict. Where can people find you? Is there anything you're working on?
Not working on anything other than this, and they can find me here, or they can go to the Discords, the Fluid Voice Discord, or the Rumpus Room. Links below, and if you send a tell, I will notice that.
Christy, how about you? Anything you're working on? And where can people find you?
People can find me in hell. Sorry. The people can find me on Twitter at Christy L Abbey, ChristYLAbbey, like the road. And I am still working on the book, but I've kind of taken a couple of weeks break because I burned out on that particular reading, and I'm catching up on other reading.
Okay.
So,
people can find me here. Obviously, they can find me on Fluid Voice Discord an hour and a half before the show starts, up until half hour before the show, because then I'm doing prep work for the show by that point. But like, you can find me on that. You can find me on my Discord on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, I think. Yeah, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can find me on my Discord, Ozma In The Dark Discord. And I should be doing tomorrow. I've decided to add gaming into stuff, into my reading of that Catholic Turfs book. I've decided to add gaming in because, I don't know, my channel is liked more for the gaming stuff. So I've decided to add Lemmings into my reading of what is it even called again? I already forgot the name of the book. Something Friends something. Anyways, yeah, and I should be getting the Outlast video. I might be able to get it up by Friday. I've got the footage done. I've got like half the clips I might want to use. I might want to put some on shorts, up as shorts, for YouTube. And yeah, you can find me on Twitch Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays during a lot of the day. And with that said, your voice matters, your life matters, and you matter. I'm second guessing myself. Christy, did I get it right?
I didn't hear. I was sort of checked out.
Okay. Your voice matters, your life matters, and you matter.
No, life, voice, you.
It's like your life matters, your voice matters, and you matter. I can't believe I got that wrong. Oh, also you can find me on the Space Laser. Anyways, bye.
Peace.
Peace. Live long and prosper.